For the sake of the sect, I imprisoned myself for 500 years. But now that I have returned, everything has changed. The master despises me. The senior sisters loathe me. The new junior brother has replaced everything I once had. However, I saw through an illusion. What will happen 10,000 years later? From that moment, I tore up my sect contract and left the sect. I became a rogue cultivator, seeking my own path. But just as I was triumphantly battling on the heavenly road, my former master and senior sisters cried and begged me to return to the sect. To this, my response was only one sentence. Your dear junior brother died 500 years ago. This was your choice. Just as Guzu stepped out of the carriage, Surumei had already stepped out first. She congratulated Guzu. Congratulations, Taoist Feng, for successfully entering the Tao and gaining the qualification to compete for the Grand Tao. These words, if they weren't enough to shut up those who mocked, then Surumai's next sentence truly left people speechless. Taoist Feng's spiritual nature is incredibly strong, and his talent is enviable. Now that Taoist Feng's realm has just ascended, he must naturally proceed with cultivation to consolidate his realm and cultivation base. Therefore, Taoist Feng is no longer suitable to continue sharing a carriage with others. So, Rumei has prepared a separate carriage for Taoist Feng to use whenever he wishes. You can also cultivate with peace of mind. As she spoke, a carriage, obviously more unique than the one Guzu had previously ridden, was brought out. This scene immediately changed the expressions of those who had mocked earlier. Riding alone is a privilege only granted to cultivators who have at least reached the great perfection of refinement. Although he has entered the Tao, he is currently only at the 7th layer of refinement. How did he get the opportunity to ride alone in a carriage? On what basis? I've already reached the 9th layer of refinement, yet I'm still crammed in a carriage with others. Why does he have this privilege? He may have entered the Tao, but his talent is too low. Such abundant spiritual energy, such a rare opportunity, is wasted on him. How is someone like him qualified to ride alone? Many questioned, feeling that Surumai's actions were unfair and unjust. However, this expression of dissatisfaction only elicited a light response from Surumei. Everyone, riding alone has always been a privilege for those who have reached the great perfection of refinement. According to the rules of our Wanbao Pavilion, naturally, the qualification to ride alone upon entering the Tao is also a rule of our Wanbao Pavilion. These words made the still complaining cultivators shut their mouths. This is the rule of Wanbao Pavilion, and the carriages belong to Wanbao Pavilion. They can choose to let anyone ride them as they wish. There's no need to give them any explanation, she said, and although they shut up, many people still looked at Guzu with some resentment, especially a few of the cultivators at the 9th level of refining. Their gazes towards Guzu were filled with discontent. Guzu at the 7th level of refining had earned the privilege of riding alone in a carriage, which made people envious and filled them with resentment. Surumei ignored these gazes, and instead smiled at Guzu again. Taoist Feng, if you don't mind, you may now settle in. Though she wore a veil that obscured her features, her smile still tugged at one's heartstrings. Guzu looked at her deeply for a moment, but without hesitation, he gratefully responded, in that case, thank you, Steward Su. With that, Guzu immediately switched to the new carriage. From start to finish, he paid no attention to those who were discontent, as if their gazes were not worth his time. Just before entering the carriage, Guzu glanced at Surumei again, his eyes revealing something special, facing his gaze. Surumei's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. She had a feeling he had seen through her intentions. You want to test this Feng Buju? The convo set off again, and the shadow couldn't help but ask. Yes. Surumei did not deny it. Neither you nor I can see through him. Is this person inherently talentless? Or a true prodigy? Since that's the case, the best way is to let him take action and see his true strength. Everything I did earlier seemed normal, but in reality, I could have easily dispelled the dissatisfaction of those cultivators if I wanted to, but I didn't. I chose the simplest and most straightforward method. The final result of this will inevitably be increasing the resentment of those cultivators. They won't want to offend Wenbao Tower, but they definitely won't accept Guziu. As a result, along the way, there will inevitably be people who want to or intentionally target Guziu, even forcing him to take action. I did it very discreetly. Even ordinary people wouldn't think there was any problem, and instead, they would be grateful for the carriage and attention I provided. But now, thinking about Gushu's gaze, Surume couldn't help but smile bitterly. I seem to have messed up. He saw through my intentions. I don't think you messed up. Unexpectedly, the shadow shook its head. Surume was puzzled, but then she heard the shadow say, since he saw through your intentions, he should have refused the carriage, but he didn't refuse, and didn't hesitate at all. What do you mean? I mean, this Feng Buju, he doesn't mind your little schemes. Oh, in fact, perhaps, he not only doesn't mind, but actually wants to perform, to gain more favor from our Wenbao Pavilion. This, Surume was surprised. Then she thought carefully, and realized what Yangzi said seemed to make sense. Wenbao Pavilion is a large and influential place, and countless rogue cultivators hope to gain its favor, hoping to join Wenbao Pavilion. If Guzu really has such thoughts, then in the future, we can look forward to it. While Surume and Yangzi were discussing this, on the other side, Guzu was already sitting cross-legged in the private carriage with a calm expression. Actually, Yangzi was only half right. Guzu indeed doesn't mind Surume's little schemes, but it's not because he wants to use this method to gain Wenbao Pavilion's attention. His thoughts have always been simple. Like the wind, he goes with the flow and follows the natural way. He saw through Surume's intention to test him, but he didn't care. He joined this journey with Wenbao Pavilion as a guardian. If it really comes to the point where he needs to act, Guzu will not hesitate. He also noticed the discontent from those cultivators at the 9th layer of chair refinement, but he still didn't care. Their discontent won't affect Guzu in the slightest. Even if their discontent turns into actual action, Guzu still wouldn't care. After all, one sword slash is enough. The wind is shapeless, without form, and ever-changing. It can gently brush against the hills, or stir up a fierce tsunami. Whether the hills feel comfortable, or the waves feel discontent, none of this matters to the wind. Moreover, Guzu now has more important matters to attend to. The private carriage gave Guzu greater freedom. In his hand, he held the green bamboo rod once again. He had been with the Wenbao Tower convoy for 3 days now. It had been 10 days since he last used the green bamboo rod. The green bamboo rod was ready for use again, without hesitation. As midnight arrived, Guzu activated the green bamboo rod to fish across the heavens once more. Guzu had used the green bamboo rod twice before, so he was now familiar with it. Just like the previous times, this time too, fishing with the green bamboo rod went exceptionally smoothly. Not long after, Guzu felt the rod dip slightly. He immediately focused, preparing for a test of endurance, to wrestle with the force on the other end of the rod. But unexpectedly, this time, the object he was fishing for seemed to offer no resistance at all. In fact, with just a gentle lift of the rod, the fished object was pulled from the void by Guzu. But when the fished object appeared before Gushu's eyes, his usually calm demeanor couldn't help but show a flash of surprise, because this time the fished object was supposed to be the opportunity for his junior brother, Zhongzun, This is the 7-star pendant. The object that appeared before Guzu was an ancient jade pendant. Upon closer inspection, one could see the Big Dipper carved into it. Most uniquely, this jade pendant carried a complex, special power. Although the jade pendant was an inanimate object, staring closely at the 7-star pendant, one would unconsciously feel that the 7 stars were shining and moving along a special trajectory. But upon another look, one would find that the jade pendant seemed to have never moved. Gushu's eyes were filled with astonishment because he recognized this jade pendant, or rather in that dream of 10,000 years. Guzu had once seen this object shine brilliantly. This object is called the 7-star pendant. Its origins unknown, its crafting method unknown. But this jade pendant has an extremely special and powerful function. The 7-star array breaker, the Big Dipper carved on it, can see through myriad formations, no matter what kind of array the wearer encounters. This object can help the bearer find a way out. Incredibly profound. In that dream of 10,000 years, this 7-star pendant was Zhongzhen's treasure. He also relied on the power of the green bamboo rod to fish out this jade pendant. And after obtaining this jade pendant, it shone brilliantly more than once. This pendant helped Zhongzhen resolve countless crises, break numerous formations, and seize countless opportunities. But now, this jade pendant was obtained by Guzu in advance. And I remember, in that dream of 10,000 years, my junior brother spent 3 whole days fishing for this 7-star pendant. Why was it so easy for me to fish out this object? Guzu couldn't help but feel curious. As he held the 7-star pendant in his hand, he felt the warmth emanating from it. He even felt, perhaps it was an illusion, that the 7-star pendant seemed to be constantly showing goodwill towards him, as if it couldn't wait for him to use it. Guzu found it strange. Is this pendant originally mine? Or does my Tao heart resonate with it? This question was destined to remain unanswered. Guzu decided not to think about it further. He immediately pricked his finger and let a drop of blood fall on the 7-star pendant. The moment the blood touched it, the pendant absorbed it entirely. Blood recognition of the master was successful as Guzu obtained the 7-star pendant. Far away in the azure profound holy land, on Cloud Peak, someone sat cross-legged. While Zhongzhen was tempering his sword heart, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally steady breath abruptly dissipated. In his eyes, a look of shock and disbelief appeared. Why do I feel that an opportunity meant for me has been seized by someone else? He didn't understand why he suddenly had this feeling. But at this moment, the feeling was extremely intense, causing him immense discomfort. Even the sword intent he had been tempering almost went awry. It wasn't until he spat out another mouthful of blood that the feeling of blockage in his heart finally eased a little. However, the sense of something belonging to him being taken by someone else still caused him extreme discomfort. This made his eyes flicker with a trace of malice. Who is it that dares to seize my opportunity? But this expression lasted only for a moment before it vanished, because outside the door, there was already a knocking sound, accompanied by a concerned inquiry. Junior brother, senior sister sensed a change in your breath. Did something go wrong with your cultivation? Are you all right? Thank you for your concern, senior sister. I'm fine. Zhongzhen quickly got up, opened the door, and saw third senior sister Su Wanqing standing outside. Immediately, a gentle smile appeared on his face. Thank you for your concern, senior sister. Junior brother just had a feeling that there was something lacking in the Tao. That's why it happened. But now it's nothing serious. Something lacking in the Tao? Su Wanqing was taken aback, feeling a bit worried. Zhongzhen, however, smiled, Senior sister, don't worry. It was just a heart demon. I'm fine now. A heart demon is no small matter. You mustn't be careless. Su Wanqing shook her head, taking out a bunch of bottles and jars of elixirs and handing them over. These are all calming and soul-stabilizing elixirs. Junior brother, use them as needed. Zhangzhen was delighted in his heart, but his face showed hesitation. Senior sister, I've already used so many of your elixirs. How can I take more? Besides, these calming and soul-stabilizing elixirs are extremely rare. Take them. Why are you being polite with your senior sister? Su Wanqing ignored his refusal and stuffed all the elixirs into Zhangzhen's hands. Senior sister, you are my junior brother. If I don't give my elixirs to you, should I give them to outsiders? But take them. No matter what you feel is lacking in your Tao, whatever it is, your master and senior sisters will give you the best. Even if it means exhausting all the resources of Qingshuan Holy Land, we will make it up to you. These words made Zhangzhen feel grateful once again. And just at that moment, Qin Moran, who had just arrived at Chuyan Peak, planning to find Zhangzhen to relax, overheard these words. It caused an inexplicable pain in her heart. She thought of the figure she saw in the mirror before. Zhangzhen has gained everything from the sect. But what about Guzu? He has now left the sect, his life or death unknown. If he has also re-entered the path of cultivation, does he have the resources to cultivate? These thoughts arose, making Shinmoran's already clogged heart feel even worse. But in a moment, Qin Moran suppressed all those chaotic thoughts, her face once again showing a cold and ruthless expression. Guzu helped me, but he ultimately cut off my path. I can't let my mind be disturbed because of him. He is the past, and I can do no wrong. Thinking of this, Qin Moran turned around, her face returning to its indifferent look. But after glancing at the polite Zhangzhen, who was still chatting with third senior sister Su Wanqing, Qin Moran ultimately didn't go forward. Instead, she turned and left alone. Even she couldn't explain why she turned to leave. On the other side, inside the carriage, Guzu had already completed the recognition of the 7 stars pendant. However, his eyes did not show excitement or elation. Only the same calm and steady expression as before. Whether the 7 stars pendant was his original opportunity or Zhangzhen's opportunity, it didn't matter to Guzu, because he understood. This was just the beginning. After witnessing the dream of 10,000 years, Guzu had long known about those opportunities. In the coming 10,000 years, he would strive to take back those opportunities that once belonged to Zhangzhen. Though after breaking the sect contract, the grudges between Guzu and Qingshuan Holy Land had dissipated, he never forgot about Zhangzhen, the junior brother who usurped his place, plotted meticulously, and ultimately seized a large number of opportunities and everything that originally belonged to him. Although to the current Guzu, these things were merely past clouds, and he had long since let them go. Letting go did not mean that when Guzu saw Zhangzhen again, he would amicably call him junior brother and let go of everything that happened before. That was impossible. One day, Guzu would wield his 3-foot green blade, ascend Qingshuan Holy Land, and kill Zhangzhen. So, this 7 stars pendant no longer stirred any emotions in Guzu. He could become even stronger. As Guzu returned to his cultivation state, the Wanbao Pavilion caravan, which had been moving continuously, suddenly stopped. What's going on? Is there a problem? Even a caravan like Wanbao Pavilions traveled non-stop day and night, only stopping for special reasons. Unless there were special circumstances, the caravan would never stop. Now they suddenly stopped. Without any warning, Surumei immediately frowned. Her subordinate quickly reported, "Manager Su, there's a problem with the road ahead." A problem? Surumei raised an eyebrow, not waiting for her subordinate's answer. She immediately left the carriage to check. Indeed, the road ahead, which was originally clear, now had a bamboo forest, stretching as far as the eye could see, leaving only a narrow path. This road, our Wendao Pavilion has always traveled it. Normally, cultivators also follow this road. In theory, this road should lead directly to Yangshao City. And just 3 months ago, I walked this road. At that time, it was smooth. Though there were some twists and turns, there was definitely no bamboo forest. Listening to her subordinate, Surumei approached the bamboo forest to inspect. They were all ordinary green bamboos, nothing special. Walking a few steps further, she found nothing unusual. But this lack of discovery only made Surumei frown more. Although green bamboo can grow quickly with a spring rain, growing this dense is abnormal. Can we take another route? Surumei asked. I'm afraid not. Her subordinate shook his head. If we want to take another route, we have to go back to the fork from yesterday. The journey will be longer, and the road harder to travel. With the delays, we might lose a lot of time. Surumei frowned deeply. As cultivators, they could use flying artifacts to travel. A mere bamboo forest is no problem. But this is the Tianji mountain range, full of countless unknown dangers. Short distance travel is fine, but flying with such a large convoy is fraught with risk. Should we send someone to scout the way? A subordinate asked. All right. Surumei nodded. Find a few people to walk through the bamboo forest and see if there are any issues. The subordinate left to carry out the order, but returned shortly after, looking troubled. Steward Su. Everyone is shirking the task, unwilling to go. Why? Surumei raised an eyebrow. The ones I asked were those accompanying chair-refining rogue cultivators, but they either claimed their cultivation level is too low, or that they are at a critical stage in their cultivation, and none of them want to go. And they said, what? They said that since the Dao entering cultivator can ride in a carriage alone, he must be more powerful than they are. We should ask him to go. Hearing this, Surumei's brows furrowed tightly. Her earlier little scheme had anticipated these people targeting Guzu. She even wanted to see Gushu's performance. But unfortunately, Guzu hadn't come out much since entering the carriage. She had almost forgotten, but she didn't expect these people would choose this moment to target Guzu. It's just scouting the way. Any few chair refining cultivators could handle it. They are all rogue cultivators picked up along the way. Wendao Tower is paying them, but now they're all shirking their duties, which made Surumei frown deeply. After a moment's hesitation, she finally said, go and ask Taoist Feng if he is interested in checking it out. Tell him. If he goes, we will give him an additional reward. The subordinate quickly left. The shadow quietly appeared. You want to give him a chance? Yes, Surumei nodded, since he is willing to perform in front of Wendao Tower. I have no reason to stop him. As a steward, Surumei couldn't just be manipulated by a group of rogue cultivators. It seemed like a concession, but in reality, she was more interested in giving Guzu an opportunity. After all, she always thought that Guzu was also waiting for a chance to showcase himself to Wendao Tower. Now, the opportunity had come. She believed Guzu wouldn't refuse. Sure enough, not long after, the subordinate reported back. Taoist Feng agreed, but he said, it is within his duty, and there is no need for additional rewards. This response made Surumei even more certain of her guess. She walked towards Gushu's carriage, just in time to see the elegantly dressed Guzu slowly stepping out of the carriage. However, all around were gazes filled with schadenfreude. Oi! This bamboo forest wasn't here before. You'd better be careful when you go in there. Don't accidentally lose your life in there. He has the favor of Steward Su. And he managed to enter the Tao at the 4th level of chair refining. His strength must be formidable. Why should we worry about him? Maybe even if he encounters danger, he can easily slay the villains. These people's tones were all sarcastic, and their gazes towards Guziu were full of mockery. These words even made Surume frown, but Guziu himself was unmoved. His expression remained calm, as if these taunts weren't directed at him. He simply picked up the wooden stick that had accompanied him along the way, nodded to Surume, and then stepped towards the bamboo forest. From start to finish, he didn't spare a glance at the chair-refining cultivators. This made those mocking Guziu feel like they were punching cotton, and they couldn't help but become even more annoyed. Their words grew harsher, and even some malicious individuals cursed Guziu to encounter danger and perish in the bamboo forest. Surume frowned, wanting to reprimand them, to tell them to stop. But before she could say anything, several exclamations were suddenly heard. Not good. This bamboo forest is a formation. It changed. It's really a formation. What? Everyone was stunned. Surume immediately came to the front of the bamboo forest. Sure enough, the bamboo forest that had originally left a narrow passage was now completely sealed. The green bamboo still looked like ordinary bamboo, appearing unremarkable, completely ordinary. But precisely because of this, if she hadn't just seen this bamboo forest before, she wouldn't have known that it had changed. To achieve this level, there's only one explanation: a formation. Someone had set up a grand formation here, waiting for them to enter. With this thought, Surume immediately soared into the air. For safety, she didn't fly too high. But looking at the bamboo forest now, she couldn't help but feel deeply shocked. As far as the eye could see, it was all bamboo forest. Moreover, the bamboo forest was constantly changing. From above, it looked like a rotating 8 trigrams diagram, incredibly complex. This formation is the green bamboo dragon trap array. Surume's eyelids twitched wildly, and she suddenly felt a chill in her heart. Not good. As soon as she said that, Surume instinctively descended. At the moment she moved, several bamboo poles radiating strong spiritual energy shot towards her previous position. Had she reacted a bit slower, she would have been pierced by those green bamboos, like a porcupine. But Surume managed to avoid them in time. Even though Surume had avoided one disaster, as soon as she landed, large patches of bamboo shoots suddenly sprang up one after another from the ground. Then, they rapidly shot up, instantly separating Wendao Tower's convoy into different sections. What's going on? Where did these bamboos come from? What kind of formation is this? This is bad. Retreat, retreat. There's no way out. This sudden scene immediately caused everyone in the convoy to cry out in alarm. And as Surume saw this, her heart sank. She realized that they had unknowingly entered the formation long ago. The bamboo forest blocking the way earlier wasn't the moment they discovered the formation. It was because they had already entered it and had reached a dead end. There was no escape, and now the formation was fully activated, preparing to strike. The green bamboo dragon trap array was something Surume understood well. This formation was incredibly powerful, but setting it up required a lot of time and a significant number of spirit stones. Clearly, the person who set up this grand formation was targeting Wenbao Tower's convoy. We ventured too deep into the formation. Our retreat is blocked, and the way forward is barred. We are completely trapped in the array. The shadow reappeared, and Surume's brows furrowed. The one controlling the formation. They want to completely divide our convoy, defeat us in detail, and annihilate us one by one. This time, I'm afraid we will suffer heavy casualties. How can we break this formation? I don't know. The two quickly exchanged words. their expressions growing increasingly grim. This was a trap, a desperate situation someone had been planning for a long time. To destroy Wanbao Tower's convoy in one strike. What's even more terrifying is that they were already trapped in the formation, with no way out. As the two discussed how to break the formation and save their lives within the array, a sudden exclamation was heard. Hey! Hey! Why are these green bamboos withering? This remark made Tsurume pause. She turned her head to look, and indeed saw that the mystical green bamboos that had been growing wildly around them were now starting to wither one after another, at a speed visible to the naked eye. They turned to ashes in just a moment. The green bamboo array that had just divided the convoy collapsed instantly. Everything happened so fast that the people in the convoy didn't understand what was going on. Even Tsurume and the shadow, who had recognized the formation's complexity, couldn't help but look at each other, completely bewildered. What's going on? What's happening? At that moment, the sound of footsteps was heard. Then they saw, amidst the rapidly withering green bamboos turning to ashes, a man in white with white hair, leisurely walking towards them. He seemed relaxed, taking slow steps,